Chapter 4. Helping. The recounting was long and arduous. Skadi finally relented from her warrior nature, taking the time to adamantly declare her problems and shortcomings. More than a story of her past or an explanation of her situation, Skadi could only rave and complain about the problems of her situation, mostly about how little she knew and what she couldn't do. The entire time, her endearing audience only asked leading or clarifying questions. "So, what happened to your mom?" he asks. Surprisingly, Skadi wasn't getting annoyed by his constant questions. It was as if she was just continuing to spill everything, and he was only prompting her. This way, it didn't feel so forced or one-sided, an illusion of a conversation. "She disappeared," Skadi says. She considered saying, "It's complicated," and leaving it at that. "At least, that's what I've been told." It was strange talking to him like this, saying these things aloud. Telling him wasn't going to do anything. He couldn't help her, and only repeating what she already knew didn't do anything either. "That's how stories go," he says, finally contributing to the conversation. "Somebody's always got a tale to tell." He stares out across the vibrant water and throws a stone into the murky depths. There's more than one side to every story, and unfortunately, we always believe whichever one we're told first. They sit in silence for several long moments that are as painful as the seconds getting stretched. Skadi looks out across the water to the horizon, the midday sun casting illuminated ripples across the dancing water. "My father told me she ran away," Skadi whispers, "and every time I asked, he tried to explain that it wasn't because she hated me or him." Skadi grips the sand beside her. "But he never told me about her." Skadi grits her teeth, and as if in response, the boy sitting a few feet away spreads out his legs and leans back. "What was your sister told?" he asks. Skadi pauses for a moment before turning to look at him. "Do you think your sister had a choice? Have you even asked her?" "What are you playing at?" Skadi asks between clenched teeth. She instinctively swipes at her sheath, fumbling for a hilt that isn't there, before remembering that her blade was not in it. She turns and looks at her sword buried in the sand several feet away, the waves washing up closer and closer as the sun rises higher. "What if your mom left because of your sister?" he says slowly. "Maybe that's why you hate her. You blame your sister. But what if she didn't get a choice either, right?" Skadi goes to stand up, but he scrambles up faster. She glares at him, but he stands firm, holding the gaze. "Did you ever think about her position? She never had any family. She didn't steal your mom away. She probably didn't even have your dad." Skadi goes to shake her head, but something stops her. This deep resentment holds fast inside her, rather than welling up. "It sounds like your mom didn't want to have what happened to you happen again." "You're making a lot of assumptions," she warns. "It makes sense, though. Why else would your mom leave?" "I don't know. I never got to ask her." "Okay, well, what if—" "I'm done listening to your ramblings. You don't know what you're talking about." "But I'm done," she shrieked. The ocean recoils from her scream. "I'm done." She says it again, but with more defeat in her voice. Skadi scratches at her eyes, turning away from him. "Why do you always assume everyone is your enemy?" he asks softly. Skadi doesn't turn to him. "Why do you have this defeatist attitude, like everyone is out to get you?" "If only you knew," Skadi sniffles. She blinks away the hair in her eyes and steps toward her sword. "It just doesn't make any sense. Don't you know how horribly complicated it would be to have everyone in unison just to combat you? There's not that kind of harmony in the world. There's too much discourse for everyone to be working against you." She pauses, hand on hilt, preparing to pull her sword from the sand, only to hesitate. Years of training were screaming at her to act, to do something, to simply cut down her obstacles. But for the first time, she stopped to really think, and she realized that something was wrong, and maybe it was her. "Sometimes bad things just happen." She slowly turns on him. This statement broke her from her stupor. "Don't you dare, she seethes. She slowly raises her sword, pointing the tip at him. She could kill him in a second and move on. She was wasting time here talking to him. All he did was confuse and distract her from her goal. What are you gonna do? He asks. Kill me? I could, she retorts. Nobody would know. Doesn't make it right, though. I am above your laws and morality. Then why are you bound by them? Skadi blinks. Why not just go around doing whatever you want? I have a duty. To whom? He exclaims. Skadi's eyes widen, and she tenses her stance. The way that you explained it seems like there's a lot of problems everywhere, and you're sent around to deal with them willy-nilly. Skadi narrows her gaze at him. She did not appreciate him slandering the natural order, and yet she caught herself doing the same so often. Perhaps if he continued, he might explain something, or give her license to end him. It seems like you're being sent to help people, but you don't even know who or why. You don't even care or want to help. To live the life of a slave is not a life at all, she hisses between clenched teeth. It doesn't have to be work if you enjoy doing it. It can be a blessing. You've tried to persuade me once before. I gain no peace or enjoyment from ending people's suffering. She locks eyes with him, adjusting her blade. But I will do what I must. He stares softly. After a moment, when his death doesn't come, he just slowly raises his arms wide. He doesn't say anything for a long time, just waiting. Skadi adjusts the grip on her weapon. A glint reflects off the blade and she squints in frustration. She couldn't understand this fool. He was not afraid of her. What will you do now? He asks. She flinches at his words. She wanted to bark something at him, to scream a rebellious taunt or sharp retort that put his audacious words to shame, but she could think of nothing. That nothingness concerned her. She actually couldn't think about what to do now. She says slowly. She silently curses herself for the tremble in her voice before clearing her throat to speak again. I will wait. For what? He asks. She was getting tired of this. For how long? What if this is a test to see what you will do without any instruction? Or maybe this is your first break and you're spending it only getting more worked up. The blade was growing heavy in her hands. She wanted to lower the sword, but she was afraid that if she did, would she have the strength to lift it again? What are you afraid of? Getting punished? And with what? More work? She didn't like how little sense he made, but how much she was unable to disagree with him. She lowers her sword. What do you think I should do? She asks. He shrugs. Whatever you want, he says genuinely. He says it so nonchalantly, and yet it had so much power behind it. Skadi could feel it in her soul, like a warmth of affirmity she had never felt before. She wanted to scoff, to scold him, or even ask what that meant. The only thing that stopped her was a genuine confusion about what she wanted. I wouldn't know where to begin, she says finally. She flourishes the blade and returns it to its sheath, the gentle hiss of blade sliding into the scabbard matching the sound of the waves. I guess you don't want to kill me anymore, he says. She shoots him a glare. I didn't want to in the first place, she warns. You left me no choice. That's a terrible thing for a hero to say. How would your overlords feel about your representation? I'm not a hero. I don't think you get to decide that, he responds. She cocks her head and looks at him, really looking at him, as if taking him in for the first time. A hero isn't a job you can simply apply for. There's nothing you can do to warrant you to claim such a title. It's something that only other people call you. She stares long and hard at him, confusion riddled across her face. What are you talking about? She asks. He steps closer to her, his face calm and collected, letting her know that he's serious. She shifts her body, readying her shoulders, but she doesn't step away from him. You don't get to decide how people see you, he explains. There's nothing you can do to earn respect and favor. You just have to put yourself out there and people will eventually form their own opinions about you. Skadi throws up her hands. Then what am I supposed to do? She asks angrily. If I do nothing, I fail. If I do everything, I fail. There's no way to win. She turns away from him, crossing her arms. She closes her eyes, taking a deep breath and struggling to keep it all in. He waits several moments as the tension dies down before speaking again. I agree, he says softly. You can work really hard, but it means nothing if you're not doing it for the right reasons. She glances over her shoulder at him, and he stops his progress towards her. But, like I said, there's nothing you can do to be a hero. It's something you become. You embody a concept. You represent an idea. She closes her eyes again, wondering how long he's going to blather on. You show people what it means to be something more than what they are, what they could be. Being a hero doesn't mean you are perfect or that you save people. You are a symbol. You give people hope. He was finally done talking. Skadi takes an exasperated deep sigh, then another, just to be sure. I don't understand, Skadi says slowly. She turns back towards him, and they stare at each other intently. You don't have to, he says genuinely. Her eye twitches, and her hand clenches into a fist momentarily before letting go. Fighting wasn't going to get her anywhere. She needed answers. What am I doing wrong? She asks. She felt like she was screaming to the void more than just this young man. Her body shook from the question, as if its release awoken something inside her. The manifestation of the statement and allowing it to leave her body, a substantial moment of development. You don't have to do anything, he answers honestly. Fear started to creep into her mind. She could feel it crawl across her body and threaten to choke the life out of her. Then why am I here? She pleads desperately. What's the point of all of this, if it doesn't matter? She was shaking now, but if he noticed, he didn't respond. That's the question, isn't it? He asked rhetorically. His arms fall to his side, and his face is deadpan, an unreadable mask. Why do we struggle so hard if our fates are already determined? Skadi struggles to take in shaky breaths. Her brow furrows, and her eyes lose focus. Her hands twitched, but there was nothing to grab onto. Her mind raced, but there was nothing for her to find. She couldn't think of anything. What are you talking about? She breathes. This was her last resort, her only chance at finding meaning or reason to all of this. He shakes his head. I don't know, he admits. But you are here for a reason. You were given a purpose. And the more you struggle trying to do something else, the more you're just going to wear yourself out. Skadi closes her eyes, allowing the cold breeze to blow through her. She lets the ocean air wash over her, attempting to wipe away the hurt that stained her heart. But there was nothing she could do. Something deep inside her couldn't let it go. The pain wouldn't go away. She slowly shakes her head. Tomorrow is a new day, he says reassuringly. Think about it. But Skadi wasn't listening anymore. Without another word, she turns and begins walking away. She steps across the wet sand, daring the water to touch her, only allowing it to return once she is gone. See you later, I guess. To this, she responds. No. Huh? I don't think so. I'm sorry. I don't know what we're talking about. Skadi takes a strained breath and sighs. I don't believe we will be seeing each other again. Her words were cold, remorseless, stated as a fact and not offered as a conversational statement. The distant tone in her voice was emboldened by her unwillingness to even turn to face him as she said her final words. Goodbye. And with that, she once again began to walk along the coastline, the surf washing away her footprints, leaving nothing behind. Skadi struggles to race to him, to grab hold of the only person who speaks any sort of clarity in her life. She wanted to know more about him, about what he sees in her, but that wasn't fair. He was only a boy, just another person like her. She had her own problems, just as he had his. She wanted to know what made him different, what made him better than her, or if she was truly the one that was lesser than every normal person. She wondered what had caused her to fall this far, to suffer in such a way, and if she was alone in this. Perhaps there were others out there suffering in a very similar way that she had. She hadn't considered that. What a terrible fate, she thought. She was strong, but she couldn't do this by herself. What about those weaker and more desperate than her? Surely they shouldn't have to suffer alone. She looks down at her weathered hands, and how strong and yet weak she was. He had said something about the reason behind our actions and experiences and the value we give them. She wondered if she had been allowed to suffer in order to learn what others faced, simply to see how she would respond. Her hands slowly fall away from her face as she looks out across the horizon. A storm was forming, drawing closer. Perhaps this was the foe she faced, but her martial ability would not help her here. She considered running to warn the inhabitants, but who would listen to someone who didn't care about what others said? Pain and frustration welled up inside her again, but she was determined not to drown in it this time.